is full of insects we consider tiny. But what happens when these insignificant creatures become terrifyingly supersized and shatter our sense of scale? From crickets that look like prawns, to stick insects that are as big as a human arm, here are 30 of the largest insects and creatures ever caught on camera. Most people think of stick insects as these tiny and slender creatures that are really hard to spot in the wild. But there is a species, native to the Caribbean, that's terrifyingly large and looks like an alien. At first glance, this thing doesn't even look like a stick insect because it has a massive body, stretching well over 6 inches, and it's bright green, which sets it apart from other stick insects in terms of camouflage ability as well. Called the giant bean insect, this is one of the largest species of stick insect in existence. The females are usually larger and have wider bodies, but that heft also means they can't fly. Australia is home to some of the gnarliest insects in the world, but even the harmless bugs are, for some reason, supersized. Take this cicada, for instance, which has landed on a kid's hand.
Wow, Boo-Boo, that's a huge cicada, isn't it?
This is the double drummer cicada, a species native to Australia with a wingspan of almost 6 inches. But while that's impressive, especially for a cicada, there's another thing that makes these insects really fascinating.
No, can you get this off me?
Yeah.
Ow.
They got grippy little legs.
Yeah, I know. I love that.
Cicadas are already pretty loud insects, but this species, in particular, is among the loudest insects in the world, reaching up to 120 decibels. For context, that's about as loud as a speeding train.
I heard it.
I won't hear that.
Giant cicadas or stick insects might be impressive, but nothing comes close to the variety of beetles, with these insects making up more than a quarter of all known animal species on the planet. And this particular beetle might be the biggest. Called the saber-toothed longhorn beetle. This is one of the largest beetles in the world, reaching over 6 inches in length thanks to its massive mandibles. It's native to South American rainforests. The strangest thing about this insect, however, is the fact that it spends up to 10 years of its life in the larval stage and only lives a few months as an adult. This also makes it one of the rarest beetles in the world. The following footage comes from Colombia, where a man was getting ready to work in his office when he realized he had an unexpected visitor. Initially, he thought a bat had crawled in through the window, but as he got closer, he realized this creature was special.
Here in my office, I have a little visitor, and it's one of these moths. And,
With a wingspan of over 6 inches, this was one of the largest noctid moths in the US, called the black witch moth. However, while this one looked as big as a bat, it was a male specimen, and usually the females are even bigger.
definitely does not have any white stripe, but it's a rather large moth.
The moth isn't only known for its size, though. This nocturnal creature migrates all the way from the southern US to Canada, and in some cultures, the arrival of the black witch moth is considered an omen of death.
And he flew in last night. It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and he's still there. Hasn't moved. So I hope he's...
In Costa Rica, a child stumbled upon a grasshopper on the balcony and called his parents. What he didn't realize, though, was that he didn't just find any grasshopper. He found one of the largest species in the world.
This is my hand.
See your face next to him.
My finger. He looks so weird, and most grasshoppers.
Called the giant red-winged grasshopper, this thing can grow to the size of a small bird, reaching wingspans of almost 10 inches. And with stripes on its body, this is one of the most striking insects in existence.
Dad, what if he's poisonous?
No, he's not poisonous. It's just a grasshopper.
Ah!
Okay, ready?
Oh, he did a back!
However, while these insects are harmless and friendly for the most part, they're not afraid to defend themselves when threatened. And for that, they have spines on their hind legs.
I'm grabbing him like this. Watch. He kicks me with his foot. Whoa!
Speaking of insects that are not to be trifled with, this is the bulldog ant, an Australian species that's not only known for its size but also its aggressive nature. So much so that, unlike most other ants, this is a solo hunter. Most people would think to stay away from the bulldog ant just by looking at it, because not only can it grow up to almost 2 inches long, but it also has terrifying jaws that can deliver a painful bite. That's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to its deadly nature, though, because the real dangerous part of this Australian ant is the sting at the end of its abdomen that delivers a powerful venom. Witness a close-up encounter with one of the true giants of the insect world. This is the Atlas moth, a species native to the tropical forests of Southeast Asia. With a wingspan that can stretch over 10 inches, the Atlas moth is widely considered one of the largest moths on Earth. Its total wing surface area is actually the largest of any insect, making it a true behemoth. But its most fascinating trait is its unique defense, because the tips of its forewings have a vivid pattern and shape that perfectly mimics the head of a cobra, which it uses to startle and scare away potential predators. In 2013, researchers in New Zealand got their hands on one of the most extraordinary insects in existence, the giant weta, which, on its surface, looks like a supersized cricket. But in reality, this thing is a stone-cold killer.
The tree weta that's found locally around here, you can see he's got huge mandibles that he uses to fight. Because adult males usually...
Weighing more than a small mouse and having a leg span as long as 8 inches, this is one of, if not the heaviest, insects in the world. The most terrifying part of this creature, however, are the huge mandibles.
The females live in tree cavities, and the male will come out and guard the cavity and fight with the other males outside, which is why
They're meant to fight off other males and defend female wetas in their trees, so their bite packs a serious punch, so much so that they can cut straight through human skin and make you bleed.
Vulnerable to predation and were eaten more by moorpork, for example, or by rats, that we would see a change in the sex.
This footage comes from the Cocobolo Nature Reserve in Panama, where nature photographers set up a light trap and managed to get their hands on a very special creature, an elephant beetle.
And you see, it's a gigantic beetle. It's got a huge horn in the front. It's actually quite painful because it has very sharp claws. And
growing as big as 5 inches, these are considered one of the heaviest insects in the world thanks to their hard armor and curved horns that resemble an elephant's trunk. But that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the elephant beetle.
First time, right? Yeah, it was definitely the first female orchid bee I'd seen, and this was one of the very large Ulema orchid bees, so this has been a week of firsts for me, for sure.
These beetles are warriors, using their horns in battle against other males over territory and mating rights. They also have incredibly sharp claws, meant for gripping trees, which also makes handling them painful.
One thing to see how impressive it is as far as the size goes, but I mean, it's really, really strong and it's really heavy. So, wow, for an insect lover, it doesn't...
Insect breeders have some of the most fascinating species in the world, and this one's no different. It's a cricket from southern Africa with a spiny exoskeleton, almost like armor. Called the armored bush cricket, this bad boy can grow as big as 3 inches long, but the spiny armor is what sets it apart from everything else, which it uses for defense. However, it has one more neat trick up its sleeve. Males can rub parts of their bodies together to create harsh sounds to deter predators. If that doesn't work though, they can squirt blood-like fluid from their bodies or even vomit to cover themselves and the attacker. Speaking of insect breeders, this is one of the most valuable insects in the world, and it can sell for thousands of dollars in Japan. And there's a good reason for that too, because this is the longest beetle in the world. Known for its massive horns that it uses to fight other males, this is the Hercules beetle, which can grow as long as 7 inches. Males can change color depending on humidity, and adults only live for 3 to 6 months after spending 2 years in the larval stage. Despite its intimidating appearance, however, the Hercules beetle is totally harmless to humans and doesn't bite. What it does do, though, is lift 70 times its own weight. The following footage comes from Virginia, where a man spotted a strange-looking caterpillar casually crawling across the street. As he got closer, however, he realized he'd been visited by one of the biggest caterpillars in the world.
Check this thing out. I don't think I've ever seen a crazier bug than this. Look at that.
This is the hickory-horned devil, a caterpillar with black-tipped horns on its head and along its back. But don't worry, these horns are actually soft to the touch, making them harmless to humans. And the only reason it has horns is to scare off predators.
And there's the camera case. Very much as long as the camera case.
The caterpillar can grow as big as 6 inches, which means it has to turn into something bigger as a moth, right? Well, this little guy actually turns into the regal moth, which is one of the largest moths in North America.
What the fuck's it going to turn into?
Beetles are the largest group of insects in the world, making up almost 25% of all known animal life. This particular species, however, might be the most stunning of the bunch. This is the Goliath beetle, a species found in sub-Saharan Africa's tropical forests, and it has some of the most mesmerizing patterns on its body, with males having Y-shaped horns, which they use to fight other males. Adults can be over 6 inches long and weigh as much as 100 grams, making them some of the heaviest insects in the world. The Goliath is also extremely strong, lifting objects that are 850 times its own weight. Beetles may have intricate patterns that can make them stand out in the wilderness. But this insect is the opposite because from a distance, it's virtually impossible to spot it. Meet the master of camouflage, the giant stick insect. This is one of, if not the longest, insects on Earth, reaching almost 12 inches in length. Yet despite its size, it's built like an actual twig, which, in the wild, gives it total immunity against predators. Even its eggs resemble plant seeds. Speaking of valuable beetles, this species comes from Central Africa, and much like the Goliath, is also loved by collectors and hobbyists. Except that this time, it's for its jet black glossy exoskeleton that almost looks metallic. This is the regal stag beetle, a species that can grow as long as 4 inches. Unlike some of the other species, this beetle spends only about a year in the larval stage, but as an adult, it can have a lifespan of over 2 years. Males use their large mandibles to battle rivals, while females use their wedge-shaped heads for burrowing. And these little guys can also vibrate to communicate with other beetles. Most people think of stick insects as these slender creatures that are really good at camouflage. But some species can grow so large that they start looking like a different insect entirely. Take this one, for example. Native to New Guinea, the giant spiny stick insect is not stick-like at all, having a wider body with spines all over it. These insects are absolute behemoths, easily growing larger than an adult human hand. They use their spiky thorns for defense and as camouflage, but they have some other tricks up their sleeve too. For instance, they can also curl their abdomen to mimic a scorpion when threatened. People find all sorts of fascinating insects in their backyards, but not many people come across something like this because this is the largest moth in North America. Found in the hardwood forests east of the Rocky Mountains, this giant Cecropia moth can reach up to 7 inches. It has a furry body and crescent-shaped eye spots on its wings to confuse predators. Most importantly, this moth has a tragically short life because it has no functional mouth, meaning it can't eat. Adulthood lasts only for a week or two, and its entire purpose in life is to find a mate and reproduce. The following footage comes from Ghana, where a man caught a giant African longhorn beetle, a species native to Central Africa, known for its long twig-like antennae and camouflage abilities.
Oh, it's heavy. It's very top heavy.
Yeah, so it's very peaceful now, right?
The beetle is very heavy for its size and spends most of its life as a larva boring through dead acacia wood. But while that's interesting, watch what happens when it gets distressed.
And then what happens if you grab it?
These beetles can produce a high-pitched, squeaking sound by rubbing their body parts together. This, alongside its incredible grip, is a defense mechanism meant to startle predators or warn other beetles.
Did you talk to my friend last night?
Touch it?
Yeah.
I'm really trying to get him off and I can't. He's got hooks on his feet.
In Costa Rica, a family gets a pleasant surprise when they spot a moth on their windowsill. But little do they know that this is one of, if not the biggest, moths in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Holy mackerel, look at the size of that thing. Tyler, can you try to get your hand underneath it in such a way that we can get it?
Known as the white witch giant moth, the species is native to Central and South America, and sometimes it's also called the ghost moth due to its mesmerizing off-white color that makes it look ethereal.
Push me up. Okay, look.
Oh my God.
Oh my
God. He's in. That is...
The moth's wingspan can reach as wide as 12 inches, making it the largest moth in the world in terms of sheer wingspan. And some cultures in South America view it as a messenger to the underworld.
Look at this! It's a bird!
On my head!
Look at the size of that thing! Oh, I gotta have a picture.
Speaking of large flying insects, this woman in France managed to capture one of the most fascinating bees in existence because, unlike most bees, this one was jet black, massive, and totally harmless.
This is a bee. I hope I'm not going to hear noises in the background because we're in a workroom.
A type of carpenter bee. The species is known for its large size, with some of them being over an inch long. The most striking feature, however, has to be its glossy black body with iridescent blue wings.
Himself out on the window, but he's having a little clean up. He is huge. He's about as big as my...
The French carpenter bee is solitary, meaning it does not live in a hive colony. While it does not sting, however, its wings can be extremely loud, so much so that it almost feels like having a mini helicopter flying around you.
Ooh. Yeah, well, we will let him out of the window, but just to...
Bees and moths are fairly common in the wild, but sometimes you see a creature so intimidating, you can't help but record it. And that's exactly what this person did when they found a scorpion in Thailand. It was an emperor scorpion, one of the biggest species in the world that can grow up to be 8 inches long. These are aggressive creatures, but this man is gonna try and mess with the scorpion anyway. Despite its intimidating appearance, especially with the stinger, the scorpion is actually mostly harmless, with its venom being similar to a bee sting. Instead, it uses its powerful pincers to catch prey. The following footage comes from Venezuela, where a man got his hands on a truly fascinating creature, an insect that looked like a ferocious wasp at first sight, but in reality, it was a harmless fly. Called the Madas fly, this is among the largest flies in North America, with adults reaching up to 2 inches in some cases. It has a jet black body with a striking orange band around its abdomen. While mostly harmless to humans, the larvae of these flies eat beetle grubs in soil and decaying wood. They can curl their abdomen and jab it forward to mimic a stinging wasp, which deters potential predators. Witness one of the most stunning insects in the world as a moth hobbyist gets his hands on a giant comet moth, a vibrant creature known for its elegant tails.
Hi, my friends. It looks like today again we have another nice specimen of the giant comet moth again.
With a wingspan that can reach up to 8 inches, this is one of the largest silk moths in the world. Its tails aren't just for show though, they're designed to break off easily to allow the moth to escape from a predator.
Very long. So that's very beautiful.
But that's not all. Their tails also have a strange defense mechanism, which lets them spin and produce a frequency that can distort the echolocation of bats and confuse them, making the moth a harder target to catch in the dark.
To break off. So because they break off so easily, the animal can escape when you grab them by its tail. But they're also an outed.
A lot of insects in the wild are deceptive by nature. This creature, for instance, might look like a giant mosquito, but it's actually a long-legged insect without any biting mouthparts called a crane fly. They only feed on water or nectar and have slender bodies with thin, fragile legs. In fact, these insects are so weak that even their flight is unstable. The most fascinating thing about crane flies, however, is their lifespan, because they spend up to a year as larvae and only live for 10 to 15 days as adults, with the sole purpose of mating and laying eggs. Many creatures, like stick insects, have excellent camouflage abilities, making them virtually impossible to see in the wild. But even those camo experts don't come close to what the giant leaf insect can do. Their bodies look exactly like a leaf, including intricate vein patterns and brown spots that look like decay. What takes this to the next level, however, is their ability to sway back and forth like a leaf in the breeze. The following footage comes from South Africa, where someone spotted a strange red creature in their backyard. It looked like a prawn, but in reality, this was a supersized cricket. A member of the king cricket family, which is actually not a true cricket. This is the Parktown prawn, a nocturnal insect with curved tusks on its mandibles, which are used in male-to-male competition. Growing up to a whopping 3 inches, the Parktown prawn can jump high, bite, and even spray a foul-smelling liquid when threatened, and it feeds on other insects. Speaking of insects that look like they're aquatic, this is a giant water bug, spotted in Alberta, Canada, and it is one of the largest aquatic insects in the world. These can grow as big as 5 inches and are powerful predators in freshwater habitats, preying on fish, tadpoles, and other aquatic life. They're also known as toe biters for their painful bites caused by toxic saliva, which can be extremely painful. What really sets them apart from other insects, though, is their unique hunting method, which allows them to inject digestive enzymes into their prey to liquefy and consume it. Dragonflies are some of the strangest insects in existence, with most of them looking like they belong to another planet. And this is perhaps the perfect proof of that, because not only is this dragonfly stunning, but it's also huge. Called the golden ringed dragonfly, this is the largest dragonfly in Japan and East Asia, growing as long as 4.5 inches. It has yellow stripes all over its body and green eyes that make it look alien. Speaking of strange-looking insects, these are not just random brown caterpillars. This is the pre-pupal stage of the Aztecan horned devil, a species of silk moth known for having some of the largest caterpillars in America.
Okay. Before they're going to pupate, one of them is already pre-pupal. So, just a quick video so you got...
The caterpillars feed on massive amounts of food before pupating, sometimes growing as long as 6 inches, after which they spend a year burrowed underground before emerging as a stunning silk moth.
And I hope to show you a video of the moths in a few months, because success is pretty much guaranteed. Thanks for watching. Just a very quick video.
This footage comes from Southampton, England, where a man spotted a massive fly in his backyard. But little did he know that this thing wasn't just big. It was one of the largest horseflies in Europe. This is the dark giant horsefly, a species that can grow up to 1 inch. With females often being larger than males, they can bite humans and feed on blood for nourishment, although they are more likely to feed on cattle. That doesn't make them any less dangerous, though. A bite from these bad boys can even cause anaphylactic shock in some people. They're also nimble flyers with a prominent buzzing noise.